South Africans are being urged to protect themselves against the effects of climate change. The CSIR is warning of increased temperatures and extreme heat this summer. For more on this, let's speak to CSIR's Dr Johan Malherbe, who's joining us from our Pretoria studios. Very good morning to you. How hot is it going to get?
Well, are we looking at time scale? If it is then average temperature in South Africa could, by the end of the century, increase by about 4 to 5 degrees Celsius in a low mitigation scenario. In other words, if carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is allowed to increase to much higher concentrations by the end of the century. If mitigation is a bit stronger, then we might be limited to about 2 degrees Celsius warmer than the current conditions.
Tell us more scientifically what is going on here.
Well, if we look locally, then temperatures are expected to increase more strongly over the northern to northwestern parts of the country and into Botswana. So you would say the central to western parts of the southern African subcontinent. So as the atmosphere heats a bit more, because solar radiation is trapped by the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and more strongly some other greenhouse gases, the entire climate system becomes a bit faster. Now at the equator in Africa we have more convection that is projected to happen when it is hotter, which makes sense. So over the equator, more convection, and the air that rises over that part of the world needs to sink somewhere else. And the place where it usually goes down towards the ground again is the subtropics. Now South Africa, specifically Botswana, northern parts of South Africa, parts of Namibia or most of Namibia is located in the subtropics, also Zimbabwe and parts of Zambia. So over those areas we expect in future that the climate change signal, as it has been observed over the last 50 to 80 years, will be somewhat stronger than in other parts of the world if you specifically look at temperatures. So that will mean that we will have more extreme hot conditions, and usually that happens also especially during this part of the year. If we look at the spring period, that is where we usually see the strongest signal in the projections as well.
And our intermittent rainfall is not helping, is it?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Our intermittent rainfall is not helping, is it?
No, it is not. South Africa is typically a country where we have climate variability. That is something that we really need to deal with, also because we are in the subtropics. So because the climate varies as it does, you can become used to doing something in a certain type of climate situation, and then suddenly it flips over, and for 2-3 years you have a totally different situation, and that can be really disruptive.
And how can we protect ourselves during this time, and what sort of impact can it have on health?
Well, if we look at the potential impacts of the high temperatures, and sometimes the high temperatures comes with high humidity too, and sometimes not. Sometimes it's windy and sometimes not. Those things will differ slightly. But the most important thing is to keep well hydrated, to drink more water than you think you need to. And then another thing that's quite important is the type of clothes you wear. It should be light fabrics, not heavy. It should be loose fitting, not too tight. It should be allow some air to move in and out, not be too solid, like the difference between cotton and nylon, for example. So there are a few things that we can do. We need to stay in the shade during the day. Also, if you think more strategically, maybe it's important to keep your house in a lighter color, to have larger trees around your house. If you walk outside during the day, try to walk on the shady part of the road. Also, a thing that is important is to try to avoid the hottest part of the day. Usually the highest temperatures are measured around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you can avoid being outside between, say, 11 and 5, that's a good thing. Or at least avoid doing your most strenuous activities during that part of the day.
All right. Very good to talk to you. Thank you very much for that, Johan Malherbe.